Alright, hey everybody, my name's Taylor Deal, and we're gonna go through my home buying case study. So that's my cute little boy Louie and my husband Lucas, and he's going to grad school next fall. So for this case study we were looking at houses in one of the areas where he's applying to school, which is Denton, Texas, to go to North Texas University. And so just a little bit about our family. We like cooking and eating and music, obviously, because my husband's a music major. And we like video games and board games and working out. And we are also expecting twins in March. So main features for our home that we really want are 4 bedrooms. So we can have 2 for the kids and then 1 for us, and then the 4th to turn into a soundproofed practicing room so my husband can practice at home and not wake up the kids. And then a fenced yard would be great so they can play outside. An open floor plan would be great, and close to UNT would also be a huge plus. And these are things that are kind of would be nice but not necessary. Having 2 floors, a large kitchen because I love to cook, having an extra bedroom to have like an office or turn one into a workout room, that would be a plus. And then newly built would also be a bonus. So our budget is $1,020 to $1,700. So that's 15% of our monthly income to 25%. That's kind of our range. We don't want to go higher than 25% of our monthly income. So we have some savings built up, but it could be difficult to do a large payment in the very near future. So that's something to consider. And then we're also going to be probably taking out loans for grad school tuition. And right now we don't have any debt, luckily. So our 2 homes we've picked out, this one's the dream home. $310,490 is what it's up for, which would be $1,482.33 per month. So it's beautiful, close to UNT. It has 4 bedrooms, super open floor plan and vaulted ceilings, and the kitchen's huge. And it seems way nicer than what it was listed as, so that's cool. And then this is a modest home, so $224,900, which would be $1,074.18 ish a month. So this one's not as new. It also has 4 bedrooms, but it's all 1 floor. It kind of has an open floor plan as well, and it would be fun to be able to renovate a little bit, so that's kind of a bonus. So here is our budget and our income. So like I said before, we're looking at 15% to 25% of our monthly income for our monthly mortgage budget. So for this column over here on the right, this was calculating with the higher end. So the dream home or a more expensive home, around $1,700. So it would be doable for us with these budgeting categories, but if we had a cheaper home, we would be able to save more and be more flexible in our spending. And before we buy a house, we would really like to have 3 months, at least 3 to 6 month emergency savings fund. And that table there kind of highlights how much that would be for the 3 month and 6 month, and then how much we can save per month right now, which is $1,250 per month. So, which isn't a whole lot. We could budget better and try to save more than that per month, but this would be like easy to do. And so it would take 15 months pretty much for all these categories to save that up. Then for the down payment, we were kind of thinking nice middle ground of 10%. even though we would have to pay PMI, but that would help us get into a house sooner rather than later. And so these down payment calculations were done using the dream home, because that's what initially I was leaning towards at the beginning when I did these calculations. So it would take another 15 months after this. So that's 30 months, almost 3 years. It's kind of a long time to get to that point. So we'll talk more about that later, about timing. So things to consider. We talked a lot about in class how it's great to avoid private mortgage insurance if you can, because it doesn't really benefit you at all. It's just wasting money basically. But we aren't going to be staying in this home for very long, probably 3 to 6 years. And so paying that PMI for those 3 to 6 years would not be very much. And later I calculate out how much that would be. And then also we wouldn't benefit as much for having a 15-year mortgage versus 30-year, because we would just be selling it in 3 to 6 years anyway. The other thing to consider is that we have a good credit score, luckily, so this will help us to have a lower interest rate. So looking it up, we can probably get an interest rate of around 3.6% versus like if we had a lower credit score like 660 or around there, it would be more like 4.5%. So we're lucky to have a good credit score. As for tax liability, did not go into a whole lot of detail on these slides, just for various reasons, but I did calculate out the amount we'd pay total in interest per year. So it's around 17,000 in payments minus 5,800-ish of that going towards the principal. And so that's a difference of around 11,000 paid in interest. So that would all be, we could use that as a deduction on our taxes, which would be a benefit. So that would be a bonus to buying a house right now. So this slide kind of highlights 3 different categories on a rubric. So for homeowners insurance, the quote I found, which seems to be maybe a little bit high, but better to plan for something higher than lower, is around $2,700 per year, around $230 per month. So when on those slides previously, when I was calculating what would be 15 to 25% of our monthly mortgage, or our monthly income for our mortgage, that was not including homeowners insurance. So that kind of limits us a little bit more. And then with PITI, like I'll talk about in a couple slides, it's even more per month. So other things to consider for transportation, we have one car right now, we don't have a loan on it, and it's around $210 per month for budgeting for that. And we are thinking about adding a second car, but we would try to save a lot first, make a big down payment and have a smaller loan and have a small monthly payment to not be burdening us and preventing us from being approved for a home loan. So, and then like I mentioned, we don't have any debt currently, but may have to take out some loans for school, but we wouldn't be making payments on those loans till after he graduates, so that wouldn't really change our monthly income and spending balance like I already talked about on the budgeting slide. So that's about it on this slide. So here's where we talk about the whole thing with PITI. So for the modest home, it would really end up being around $1,400 per month instead of around $1,000, like I said earlier. So including the PMI and the interest and all those other little things and the insurance, it would really be more like $1,400, and for the dream home, it would be pretty close to $2,000. So that's 39% of our income for the dream home, and 31% for the modest home. And like we learned about in class, we want it to be less than 36%. So the dream home is kind of out at this point. And then the modest home is doable, but kind of close still to our 36. And this is factoring in our tithing as well. So yeah. General pros and cons. This is pretty straightforward, but obviously with renting, you don't have property tax, it's cheaper, no maintenance. Those are all pros, but cons, you don't get any tax benefits, no equity, no sense of ownership. So then buying, pros, you do build that equity, you do have tax benefits, your home may appreciate in value, and you are owning a home, which is great. And cons, you have the liability and it's more expensive per month and risky if the market crashes, and especially in our case, if we buy a house and then want to sell in 5 years, but the market has gone way down, then that would be bad. So this is kind of where I realized that it might not make sense at all to buy a home right now or in the next year, because one, like I mentioned, we still need to save up a lot for emergency savings and down payment, and because we won't be in the house for very long, and also because the PITI is a bigger chunk of our monthly income than I previously anticipated. So the other thing on our rubric is to calculate the difference between the 15-year and 30-year. So when we do buy a home, it would be great to make sure it's in a place where we can stay there for a while and then have enough income to be able to do a 15-year mortgage, because it makes so much more sense, because total interest would be around $50,000 versus $150,000 for the 30-year loan. And that calculation was done using the modest home price, so somewhere around there. So that's a huge difference, and I think it would be worth it to be able to pay more per month but have that 15-year mortgage and have less interest overall. So whether or not it's a good investment, if we were to pick one, the modest home would make more sense, as you can see on the calculation on the right. It would appreciate and be close to, around $1 million in 30 years, right? And then also that money saved, the 40815 on the right bottom there, that's the difference between the modest home and the dream home in monthly payment. And so if we invested that at around 10.4% return, then that's $1 million. So that could definitely be worth it. But then the other factor to consider for right now, we could be investing in areas that have higher returns than that 5.4%. And so that might be a better investment for us right now than a house that we are not going to stay in for super long. So our final decision is that our best option for our time in Denton for graduate school is just renting. Hopefully renting a house that can still be big enough to accommodate our growing family. And in the next few years, we'll save up money, and when we're done with grad school and we move where we want to end up, then we'll be able to, again, try for that 15-year mortgage to pay less on interest, and consider buying a cheaper home to use that extra money to invest in more profitable areas. So that's it for my slides. Thanks.